station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Happening now at 9, covering the entire DMV in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. Soaring temperatures on the way for Labor Day, already canceling some events. How long the heat will last and how to save at gas pumps when heading home from the holiday. And a local postal worker accused of stealing close to $2 million. How a suspect was caught and the effort to get that money back. An over-the-counter antidote already available for everyday Americans. Plus, how soon they can buy the life-saving drug to reverse overdoses at home and when retailers expect it to be available. We begin tonight with breaking news. A woman was stabbed on a Metro Green Line train tonight in Navy Yard. That's according to a Metro spokesperson. We're told the woman went to the hospital conscious and alert after the 6 o'clock stabbing call came in at the Navy Yard station. No word on her condition at this very moment and any possible suspects. Metro says that service did resume after a switch to single tracking between Navy Yard and Anacostia. Stay with us as that story develops. Right now, a live look outside of Reagan National Airport for DC News Now at 9 o'clock. Shortly, people may be headed to the airport to get a quick start back home from their holiday weekend. But despite a hot Sunday afternoon, the heat didn't prevent folks in Old Town Alexandria, not far from DCA. They enjoyed the sunshine and the extended holiday weekend for many. Over to meteorologist Scott Sumner. Scott has been tracking your temperatures, your forecasts all weekend long, and we're could potentially see some record-breaking heat, Scott.
Yes, we can. We'll get into that and the meat and potatoes of it as we go into the actual forecast. But because of that heat, the pool is looking cool and it's looking good for you as you go the next 24 hours into the future here. Yeah, you want to stay cool here. You want to stay hydrated. And, of course, you want to dress cool as well. Lightweight clothing, like colored clothing. It helps with the sun's solar insulation coming in. It reflects it back a little easier. Any darker color will absorb the sun, and that will make you even hotter. Of course, don't forget your pets too. You know, their poor little paws there. They have to be protected. They're like our fingers and our feet, obviously. Extra water, check on the concrete as well. You don't want to be having those pets walk on concrete for too long with that heat. Right now, we're pretty toasty, 89 degrees here at 9:02. The humidity dew point is tolerable, but it is on the way up across the area compared to what we had yesterday. And the rest of the evening here, mostly clear, partly cloudy, and mostly clear here with temperatures dropping out of the 80s and getting into the 70s through and past the midnight hour. What about the weather headlines here? It's going to be a dry and milder night ahead once again, getting hotter on Labor Day, and the peak heat comes on Tuesday. We'll break it down for you coming up.
Look forward to it. Thank you, Scott. But developing right now, a postal worker in D.C. is accused of stealing $1.7 million in checks. All of this according to new court filings from the U.S. Attorney's Office. You can see them right here. DC News Now's Dave Laval joins us from the Friendship Station in Northwest with how the government is hoping to get some of that cash back.
The postal worker from the Friendship Station was supposed to deliver 90 checks from the U.S. Treasury Department. Instead, court documents say he kept the checks, forged them, and pocketed the money for himself. Security cameras show Hachikosela Muchimba withdrawing $1,000 from his bank account on 4 days in late 2022. That's evidence cited in the prosecution's lawsuit. The problem, say federal prosecutors, is the money is not his. Court documents say Muchimba took 90 checks from the U.S. Treasury Department meant for people on his route, forged his name on them, and deposited the money into his own account. Investigators discovered receipts for more than $402,000 in deposits in March. Federal prosecutors are seeking that money in their lawsuit. The suit says Muchimba first delivered mail on that route January 31st, 2022, nearly 2 years after the Postal Service hired him. Prosecutors believe Muchimba overall may have deposited around $800,000 in stolen Treasury Department checks and placed the money in 8 bank accounts. The Postal Service suspended Muchimba in March when leaders learned of the allegations. The lawsuit refers to him as a former employee. At the Friendship Station Post Office, Dave Laval, DC News Now.
Our thanks to Dave tonight for that report. In Prince George's County, firefighters fought flames at one of their own stations. This happened just after 5 o'clock this morning here at the Upper Marlboro station on Pratt Street. An investigation found that the fire equipment caught fire inside before the building took on flames. At the time, we're told there were 8 firefighters on site, but thankfully nobody was hurt. And in the district superstore Giant right here in Southeast, the store announced that they would be removing some national brand products from that location where shelves have been gutted by thieves recently. Giant tells us these items will now be replaced with private label brands for health and beauty care products. The company says that this is a way to cut down on thefts as well as protect store associates from those thieves. They also apologize to customers in advance who may be inconvenienced. And a change in plans in Gaithersburg because of that excessive heat forecasted. Tomorrow's Labor Day parade has been canceled. The decision shared today on the city's mayor's Twitter account and official government Twitter accounts, but no other details have been shared by the city. And for Metro commuters, an update to their Labor Day schedule. Tomorrow, Metro Rail will open at 7 a.m. and run until midnight, just like their Sunday schedule. They'll also be reopening 4 Green Line stations that were closed for summer construction. Talking about those Greenbelt, College Park, Hyattsville Crossing, and West Hyattsville stations, all opening 3 days ahead of schedule. Metrobus will also be running on their Sunday schedule on the roads. You can find more information at WMATA.com. And turning now to Narcan, the opioid reversal drug, it will be available over the counter starting this week. DC News Now's Tosin Fikile has more on where people can find that life-saving drug and how much it costs.
Narcan, the drug that can restore normal breathing within 2 to 3 minutes. That's what experts say. And they say as it goes over the counter, it is the first treatment of its kind available to the public without a prescription. And this is happening just days after International Opioid Awareness Day, which was on August 31st. Narcan manufacturers said the first batch of the nasal spray officially shipped last week to top drugstores, pharmacies, groceries, and online retailers. The opioid epidemic is impacting many cities and states across the country. For example, according to a July 2023 report from DC's Office of Chief Medical Examiner, in 2022, there were 461 opioid-related fatal overdoses with an average of 38 deaths per month. There has been a total of 152 opioid-related fatal overdoses in the district up until July 2023. That's according to that report. Now, experts say Narcan can potentially reverse the effects of overdoses from opioids, including fentanyl. Now, that original version of the prescription strength naloxone 4 milligram nasal spray, also known as Narcan, will cost you about $45, they say, for 2-dose package of the prescription. Now, major retailers, including CVS, Walmart, and Walgreens, have said they expect Narcan to be available online and in many stores early this week. In the studio, I'm Tosin Fikile for DC News Now. Back to you.
Great information there. Thank you, Tosin. And a welcome home to Virginia Task Force 1. A group of 80 people has made it back to the Commonwealth from Florida after they left to help communities affected by Hurricane Idalia. The team started their return to Virginia on Saturday night, but once back at the state, they were greeted by friends, family, fellow department members, and other members of the community. Welcome home, everybody. And tonight, drought operations are underway for the Potomac River, which supplies 78% of the drinking water for 5.1 million people right here in the DMV. The Interstate Commission on the Potomac River Basin says the river is low enough to trigger drought operations, which readies reservoirs to meet demand. We're told it's uncommon for drought operations to happen this early on in the year, though it's not unheard of. Meantime, consumers are asked to limit their water usage. And after 4 months off of the job, Frederick County's sheriff is clocking back in. Chuck Jenkins was indicted by a federal grand jury for conspiracy and false statements in order to acquire machine guns. That indictment happened back in April. But Jenkins had placed himself on administrative leave at the time. Michaela Newton reports the infighting among county leaders as the sheriff heads back to work.
Chuck Jenkins, Frederick County Sheriff, took a leave of absence in April after being indicted on charges relating to a machine gun scheme.
When this first happened after the arraignment, I felt at that point in time the right thing to do was to give myself a little bit of leave of absence, take a step down from the day-to-day operations, and I felt that that was the right thing to do at that particular time.
Monday, he reinstated to his full duty status.
Keep in mind, I did that on my own. It was self-imposed. It wasn't forced on me. No one, again, tried to convince me to do it or not do it. I'm still the sheriff. At no time did I consider resigning.
In a statement sent to DC News Now by Frederick County's executive Jessica Fitzwater, she disagreed with the sheriff's move, saying, quote, Sheriff Jenkins' decision to take a leave of absence demonstrated an understanding of the seriousness of the charges against him. I am disappointed that he has now gone back on his word. I agree with the sheriff's statement that he is directly accountable to the voting public. Therefore, he should explain to the public what has changed since April to justify his decision to reverse course.
Jessica Fitzwater was never supportive of me being elected sheriff. She doesn't like me serving as sheriff, so that whole statement doesn't surprise me. And I am responsible. I am answerable to the people, to the voters.
And according to the Washington Post, the judge ruled the sheriff would be granted a separate trial from the gun range owner also indicted in the federal case against him. Stay with us as that story develops. Meantime, the city of Alexandria is on the cusp of proposed zoning changes. The rezoning could mean a lot more people will be able to afford living in the city. As the public awaits those plans, Mayor Justin Wilson is taking aim at claims that the proposals will fundamentally change the look and character of Alexandria. Haley Milon reports.
Similar zoning changes in Arlington, just north of here, caused a huge stir not too long ago. Well, here in the Delray community, it's quiet. There are single-family homes, and residents tell me they don't really want the vibe to change. However, some young people tell me they want to be able to afford to live where they grew up.
I don't know if I could ever afford a home in the city I grew up in.
Recent college graduate Meredith Lampke lives in her childhood Delray home with her parents. Having a place of her own somewhere like this is a pipe dream. Life in the city could be shaken up through the zoning for housing effort, which could lead to changes allowing multifamily homes in areas that are currently only single-family residences.
Yeah, I'm definitely pro more affordable housing and more multifamily housing.
The city's eminent proposal, which will identify areas that could be rezoned to maximize the number of homes allowed, is met with community concern. The group Coalition for a Livable Alexandria claims that the city will rush through making zoning changes. Quote, the new framework disenfranchises residents while giving a green light to overdevelopment and gentrification. Natalie Roy, an activist in Arlington where a similar battle played out over several years, says she hopes Alexandria isn't playing follow the leader.
It was all about density, random density, density for density's sake.
But the people need somewhere to go. The city estimating it needs to add 3,000 units by 2030, most of those being affordable dwellings. Ahead of releasing the plans for the city, Mayor Justin Wilson posted a series of decades-old multifamily buildings, writing that the city must ensure a place for these homes. As folks brace to see the proposed changes that are being presented on September 5th, there is a community kickoff event happening tomorrow night where community members can ask questions and raise concerns to city leaders. I've got that information posted over on DCNewsNow.com. Just keyword search Alexandria housing. In Alexandria, Haley Milon, DC News Now.